So today I want to talk about a concept that applies to launching products in affiliate channels. And I'm calling this concept playing the game in reverse. So let's start with a quick story to motivate the conversation today. So this was an example I observed from years ago. It was between a publisher that was a publicly traded company and a fast growing lender. And essentially, talk about it from the lender's perspective first. So they were high growth company, doing quite well, privately held, and their challenge was one, they needed more growth, and two, they actually needed to diversify their channel mix. They were concentrated in just a couple sources, and then they needed to spread it out. So this publisher came along, and it felt like an opportunity for both growth and diversity in their mix. So it actually took some convincing, several months of conversations to get the publisher on board, because this publisher didn't see necessarily a natural fit, but through the conversations, they eventually came around to agreeing to a test. And um, I think what ended up happening was the folks on the lender side were really excited, and eager to do as many iterations as it took to get this thing to work. And I think one of the mistakes they made is that they were going to have lots of iterations. So if it didn't work on day one, they could go back month 2, month 3, month 4, and keep going. As it turns out, the publisher didn't view it that way. They viewed it as like, look, this thing's either going to work or it doesn't. And if we think this product isn't adding value to our business and to our customers, we're going to just cut it loose. So it started off real soft. The volumes weren't there. We didn't see a lot of conversions. Eventually, the publisher pulled the cord on it, and that was it. There was no second attempt, third attempt, fourth attempt. The lender definitely went back and made their pitch to the publisher, but it never came together. And if we had to look at what led to that failure, I think a couple important dynamics. One, this was way more important to the lender than it was to the publisher. So I think the publisher came in reluctantly. They were like, look, we're not fully convinced this is a thing, but we'll try it. And their bias was that it would fail. Part of the challenge was the publisher, I think, was never fully sold in the first place. So I think the lender could have done a better job painting a picture of what success would have looked like for the publisher. But candidly, there just might have been a misfit there in the relationship itself. Two, the lender brought actually a mediocre payout to the table. So their best payout in other channels was probably twice as high as what they offered this publisher. And I think what they were assuming incorrectly was, hey, if we don't get the payout right, we'll be able to iterate and try again and gradually turn up the dial until the program works. As it turned out, this publisher didn't have the patience for that. So that was never a lever that they could pull. Furthermore, the funnel, the marketing funnel, again, mediocre. So as it compared to other lenders in the category, they just weren't up to snuff. They were probably right in the middle of the pack, but they weren't a top tier conversion rate. So kind of mediocre payout, mediocre conversion funnel. And then just to kind of add to some of the issues, the timing of their payout was tended to lag because people would come into the funnel, and then due to loan processing timelines, it would take them a while to know whether or not the loan or the lead that the publisher generated actually converted. And thus, the publisher was going to be on anywhere from a 30 to 60-day delay. And if you include then invoicing and minutes of payment, they might have even been on the 90-day delay between the time it took to generate the lead and money in the bank account. So those were the issues. So I view this as like the partner was treating this affiliate partnership almost like they might have treated Google or direct mail or a channel where there aren't human beings on the other side of the deal. Now, just paint the picture in a channel like Google. You go into Google AdWords and you're buying clicks from a faceless entity. There weren't people that championed inside of Google that said, hey, we're going to give this brand a shot and we're betting on them and we think it's going to work. If you go into Google AdWords and the thing fails, nobody cares, nobody notices, nothing happens on the other side of the deal. And because it's so easy to buy media in Google, yeah, you can take 100 iterations if you want. Buy a few keywords, put up your landing page. It didn't work. Try again. You could be at that for 2 years and it's all good because it's a self-serve platform. With affiliate, you have human beings on the other side that bet on you, to add value to their marketplace. And whether you think it's rational or not, they have limited patience on how many iterations they'll give you. And in the example I just gave, they gave the lender one iteration. So that's a bit extreme. I would expect publishers that have some level of conviction in the lender to give it at least a couple chances, 2, 3 chances, but they're not going to give you 10 bites at the apple for sure. I've never seen that. Even asking for 2 or 3 tries, I think, is kind of on the edge of what most publishers are willing to stomach. So the normal way to play the game, I feel like, and I see this in many marketing organizations, is this desire to put your toe slowly in the water, get some data, and then kind of slowly iterate your way through to an answer. And in a channel like Google, Facebook, direct mail, that could be viable. Unfortunately, the problem comes when you think that same approach is going to work in affiliate. I think that's when you may run into problems. And that tees up what I mean by playing the game in reverse. When I say that, it's you're putting your best foot forward on every single dimension. So if you really had to think about that, what does that mean? Your absolute best product, your best rate. That's what you're opening with when you launch a new partner. May that be sustainable? Maybe not. But it's way easier to cool that rate down. Once the partner has conviction that you're a thing and that this thing has potential, it's a much easier conversation to say, hey, look, my LTV to CAC ratio isn't quite where I want it. I need to adjust on pricing. And yeah, your volumes might come down. So there may be some distribution consequences to that in the channel, but it's not going to be a deal killer. Similarly, your funnel, if it's your first time in an affiliate channel, stare at every other funnel in that channel and make sure your friction is minimized. So if, for example, nobody else in your category asks for income verification in your application flow, you better not be the outlier that asks for income verification. That's going to reduce your conversion rate and then make it harder for you to compete against the field in that channel. So that's an example on product, an example on funnel. Payout, bring your very best payout. I mean, I've even gone as far to suggest some of my clients start with a payout that they know won't work long term. Maybe it's break even or slightly underwater, but it's way more important to get the channel on and to establish yourself as a real player with that new partner. And then later say, look, and you can be upfront about that with your affiliate partner, by the way. There's no need to hide that. You could say, look, I'm going to be aggressive with my payout. I want this thing to work. It's a payout higher than I pay anybody else, but I want to do everything I can from the outset to make this partnership viable. They will appreciate what you're doing, and then when you go back and ask them to cool it off, they'll have context on where you're coming from. So this doesn't have to be a blindside. You can be deliberate about your communications with the affiliate partner. I guess the other thing to keep in mind here is, and the reason I'm saying put your best foot forward, even if it feels unsustainable, is you're going to have disadvantages as the new person in the channel from day one. Your rank won't be as good. Their models won't be as tuned as everybody else. The publisher won't have the conviction level that they have in everybody else. Like, you have to remember, they're running a business right now that monetizes in their mind very well. It's sustainable. And you're asking them to displace an offer that they know works with yours, and yours is a total wild card. It may be good, it may be bad, they have no idea. So the best way to de-risk the relationship for them is just to do everything you absolutely can to make the thing work. So that goes from payouts to product to funnels, all of it. And I talked about timing a payment. If there's an option to pay your new affiliate partner, the general approach I see is lenders want to pay on the bottom of the funnel, CPA. So only when the account is approved. But if you can pay per lead or per click, or you could even go all the way up to per impression, that really de-risks this thing from the publisher perspective. And once the economics are de-risked, then yeah, you just earned yourself maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 at-bats to dial in your funnel and make it work without them worrying about whether or not they're losing revenue testing your new offer. And all of this applies, by the way, when the lender needs the publisher more than the publisher needs the lender. So if you're, for example, a big Fortune 500 brand and you've never entered this publisher before, and you think it's going to be the publisher's dream that you showed up and signed a deal, then ignore everything I said here. This is not for you. This playing the game in reverse is for new entrants that are maybe regional banks or fintechs, or they're creating a new category, a new product category that maybe doesn't exist before. It's in context where the publisher feels like they're fundamentally taking a bet on the lender, where you want to play the game in reverse. So that's the high level idea. So think about that next time you consider your onboarding strategy and how you want to play it. But definitely think through what it would mean to play the game in reverse, what it would mean to put your best foot forward. And sometimes that means waiting. It means maybe delaying a launch 3 months. I would often recommend that trade-off. Get your house in order, get everything together, launch a little bit later, but give that launch a much higher odds of success. So if this topic is interesting, drop me a line. You can find me. My email is carlos@newmarketgrowth.com. I'd be happy to record more content here on kind of partnership launches and how to navigate those dynamics. This is something I spend a lot of time with. This is something I spend a lot of time thinking about along with my clients. So if this is interesting to you, I'm happy to go into more detail, but let me know what questions you have, and I can do a follow-on episodes where we kind of do the Q&A. So that's all for today, and I'll see you all here soon. This is a quick plug here for my marketing agency. It's called New Market Growth. We do nothing but help fintech lenders accelerate their growth in affiliate marketing channels. Our services are both strategic and operational. And if you want to learn more about how we can help you, find us at newmarketgrowth.com or email me directly at carlos@newmarketgrowth.com. If you want to support the show, the number one thing you can do is go to thefreetoaster.com and sign up for our newsletter. You're going to get a couple pieces per week of news, information, insights, and podcasts like the one you're listening to right now at the intersection of marketing, lending, and technology. That's our niche. We don't plan to go outside of that. It's the only publication I've seen out there on the internet that dials into this zone. So if you want to support us, sign up and share it in your favorite Slack channel.